As the Modi government completes 11 years in power, to talk about the achievements, the roadmap ahead as well, joining us at the moment is Union Minister for Petroleum and Natural Gas, Mr. Hardeep Puri. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us. Sir, as the government completes 11 years in office, we've seen the Prime Minister in the past also highlight the welfare of the masses, of the poor of the country as a central focus. From your perspective, as a senior minister, what would you look at as some of the major achievements and milestones, and what more in terms of what can be expected in coming years?
I would start by saying that the achievements should be initially assessed on the terms of the growth, the doubling of the size of the economy, GDP, which has gone up from $2 trillion to $4.3 trillion in the last 10 years. Number one, but it's not just that. The benefits of development have percolated down to the common man, to the economically weaker section, to those living below the poverty line. But there are one other feature which people don't seem to be focusing on sufficiently, that if you look at our rate of growth, last quarter 7.4%, and if you look at what is happening, the assessment is that we'll grow at 6.5% in the next year. And if you look at the economies which are in our range, that is Japan, which we overtook, and Germany, which we will overtake in a year's time, those other economies are growing at 2% or less. So the fact that we will be the third largest economy in a year and a half time, that is a given. But there's something more. Today, you're no longer looking at a $5 trillion economy. You're looking at a $7 trillion economy, a $10 trillion economy, with India having transformed totally. Earlier, I'll just give you 3 examples. One is, we had gas cylinders in 2014. We had 14 crore cylinders. But they were all in the urban sector. When that 14 crore figure went up to 33 crores, you had Ujjwala coming along in 2016. And 80% of the Ujjwala connections of 10 crores, 30 lakhs are in the rural areas. That's what made a difference. Look at women's empowerment. You know, the fact that we have a Swachhta program, that you build 12 crore toilets, individual household toilets, or 6 crores or 8 crores community or public toilets, that's only one part of it. There's another part, that you've converted a government program into a Jan Andolan, into a people's movement. And who benefits? The girl child, dignity of the girl child. Otherwise, our sisters would have to go out into the fields to defecate in the morning. But more than that, Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, well, we could have taken the earlier government's line, land is a state subject, we cannot do anything. You use the system of incentivization, 4 crore Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana units built, with a promise of another 3 crores being built, and in whose name is the title of the house? In the name of the lady of the house. If this does not give a boost to gender empowerment, please let me know what does. That is why you have gone from women-centered development, as in Swachhta, Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, Ujjwala, to women-led development in the reservation bill. I think it's a very good, it's a story which will need to be replicated in the global south. But today you are competing for space somewhere else. Look at connectivity. I mean, earlier, you know, the maximum connectivity you had was railways. And every minister, every MP wanted to go to a railway minister and say, please have the train go through my district, etc. Now every district wants an airport. And every state capital wants an international airport. And the number of airports has gone up from 74 to 150 plus. Urban transport, we are going to be the second largest metro or urban transport provider. We have 950 kilometers of operational metro network, and we have another 1,000 kilometers under construction. What is going to happen? You're going to overtake the United States, which has 1,560. It's been a tremendous story in these 11 years, but more important, you have been able to take the benefits of development, the Modi doctrine, back to percolate down to those who need it the most. UN did it through the 2030 agenda or the Sustainable Development Goals, which started in 2016 or so. But the Modi government had already started working on it in 2014. And the schemes which were initiated in June 2015 are all part of this, taking development to the farthest first, which is the 2030 agenda.
So also, if I can ask you, as Minister of Petroleum and Natural Gas, you've often spoken about energy security, and India's transition to cleaner fuels. Yet in India, particularly in urban areas, air pollution continues to be a major concern. What, in your view, needs to be done to tackle this persistent issue?
Well, I think I'm going to give you an answer. I think irresponsible governments should be voted out through democratic means. And by that, I mean the kind of government that you have which encourages parali burning, etc. Look, our energy consumption is not what is causing the pollution. What is causing pollution is, if you burn agricultural waste, that causes anything, and then there's thermal inversion, it stays out. I think we will overcome that. The governments, we don't clean the rivers, there's river pollution. But I think with the BJP government in Delhi, the cleaning of the Jamuna Ji will take place, and quickly. Insofar as atmospheric pollution is concerned, I think remedies are being found. Look, today on the road, 70% of the vehicular traffic on the road is two-wheelers and three-wheelers. And the bulk of them are either using or are going to use irreplaceable batteries. But we have pollution coming from construction and demolition waste. We have it coming from other sources. But I think there's concerted action taking place. And I'm sure in the coming years, thanks to the push by the center, that problem also will be resolved.
Right. So as a former diplomat and a current union minister, how do you assess India's shifting foreign policy under Prime Minister Modi? We've seen, for instance, Operation Sindoor. We have, of course, also seen the impact of India's global standing and the positions that we've taken, its ability to safeguard national interests, particularly, of course, apart from energy in areas such as counterterrorism and economic diplomacy. How do you assess all of this?
Well, without doubt, I think Modi's India is a proud, self-confident, and an India which can not only navigate through global uncertainty and global turbulence, but also make sure that our providing goods and services to our citizens. So I think the Modi government has done exceptionally well on that count. On the energy front, I think the fact that we've diversified our energy imports from 27 to 40 countries now, the fact that we are able to have energy relations both with OPEC Plus, which includes Russia, and with the United States, the fact that we are also able to discover new sources, the fact that we are moving on biofuel blending from 1.4% in 2014, we've come to 20% now, which was supposed to be a target for 6 years later. And our foreign policy in overall terms, and I come to Operation Sindoor. It was a spectacular military operation. Within 22 minutes, I think 9 targets. Earlier we had this thing about restraint, about choices, not wanting to act resolutely. We've come from inaction and hesitation to Balakot, which was limited. And Operation Sindoor sets an entirely new template. And Operation Sindoor is also a warning that an act of terror henceforth will be treated as an act of war. And we made it clear that we hit terror outfits, Muridke and Bhavalpur, hundreds of kilometers inside Pakistani territory. No matter how much they do, and the devastation and damage which was inflicted, evidence of that is in the public domain through commercially available satellite imagery. Whereas what have they damaged on our side? Other than activated a few asinine characters here who talk about using the Pakistani language. I think this is evidence for the whole world to see. And I think on the terror front, there was a saying, I think by Hillary Clinton, you can't rear vipers in your backyard and expect them not to bite you. I think the Pakistan will suddenly realize that, when you have vipers and, when they had the funerals of those people who were hit in those 22-minute one of those strikes, you had known proscribed figures who were on the proscribed list of the UN sanction committees there. So this is I think it is the focus on Pakistan and terrorism become much sharper. But the warning which Operation Sindoor provides is that any further act on terror is an act of war, and beware.
Right. In fact, you referred to some of those comments coming in from opposition. That was going to be my next question, from leader of opposition Rahul Gandhi to other leaders in his party.
I talked about asinine people.
Yeah, but I'm just talking about the Narendra Surrender comment.
I did not refer to the leader
Shankar.
of opposition, but if you want to refer to him, Yeah.
Right. But sir, your response to those comments coming in from the Congress party, whether it's the jibe surrounding Narendra surrender, whether it's the kind of statements surrounding Parajay Shankar, how do you respond to these kind of comments?
I would point the honorable leader of opposition in the direction of statements made by his own party members who went on the all-party mission and who talked about Desh Bhakti should not be difficult and you should resist the temptation. Maybe the honorable leader of opposition makes such statements because he has no expectation in his own mind of ever having to exercise political power. He thinks since it's a product which has been launched many times over, and he thinks he will go on being relaunched. But I think it's highly irresponsible, and I think we are in this happy situation where the military success is being celebrated by us and by our friends, and the focus on terrorism, which has been dealt a severe blow, and the Prime Minister has made very clear there will be no talks with terror, there will be no trade with terror, and water and blood don't mix. So I think that itself is a powerful message, and I think apart from our friends in our neighborhood, if the leader of opposition chooses to educate himself, this conclusion should serve that purpose.
Also, sir, the timing of these comments, because this is happening when there is a bipartisan effort to reach out to different countries diplomatically. There are parliamentary delegations visiting all parts of the world. You know, somewhere or the other, when these comments come in domestically, you know, doesn't it undermine our national interest to that effect in terms of what we are trying to project, particularly as far as terror emanating from Pakistan is concerned?
No, I think our national interest is strong enough not to be undermined by asinine comments. But I have something else to say. You know, I have long believed as a professional that a genius lies in identifying yourself with a cause. So the cause that he is perpetrating, undermining the national mood, the armed forces, that itself is very serious. But apart from that, the timing, I agree with you, is completely inexplicable. I mean, if you have a problem, you know, why don't you talk to your own people, try to understand the issue, rather than going around making irresponsible statements. And I think the price of that is being paid in what is happening to the party he, you know, ostensibly leads. I'm choosing my words very carefully. I don't think his own party today really accepts him as a leader. That's why I use the word ostensibly.
Right. Also at a time when, you know, there's an Indian delegation in Washington, D.C., there's a Pakistani delegation that's headed by Bilawal Bhutto. We've seen all sorts of bizarre comments coming out of Pakistan. But the one that perhaps takes the cake is Bilawal Bhutto saying that not all Pakistanis are terrorists. Isn't this an admission of what really is happening within Pakistan? We perhaps don't need any proof of it, but it's an admission.
But I've had the privilege of interacting in a discussion with his mother when I was accredited to the Court of St. James, and they have been reluctant to admit, but slowly they are beginning to admit. And I think this statement, not all Pakistanis are terrorists, but the very fact that not all Pakistanis are terrorists contains implicit in it that a large number of them are. And if you are harboring terrorists, that's precisely our point. But now the point is that we will no longer be tolerant. If you choose to unleash your terror machine on us, we'll give it to you nice and proper. And I think this is the greatness and the sanctity and the strength of Operation Sindoor.
All right. Mr. Hardeep Puri, thank you so much for taking the time out and speaking to us here at Times Now.